Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 19 of the Centre Circle podcast, the new home of West Midlands football. Joining me today for a Nuno, espirito, santo special, we've got Wolves fan Marc. How you doing, Marc?
Yeah, good, mate. You?
All good, cheers. Yeah. 2 p.m. this afternoon, news broke of Nuno ending his 4-year tenure at Wolves. After 199 games in charge this Sunday at home to Manchester United, he will depart the club. 198 competitive games to date, 95 wins, 49 draws, 54 losses, with a win percentage ratio of 48%. He's took us to an FA Cup semi-final. He's won the championship in his first season. He took us to a European quarter-final in his third season in charge, 2 consecutive 7th place finishes. This season, we look likely to finish 12th. What's your initial reaction to the sacking, Marc? How do you feel?
It's just a very big gamble. I think a lot of people saw it come in, but not in the way it happened, if that makes sense. I think it wouldn't have shocked many people for us to start next season with a new manager, but maybe, certainly I was. I think you were actually the first person that told me. I saw it and I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe what had happened. Like, if this was this time next week after the final game, I could possibly see it, and it just very, very strange time. It was shock, but without being shocked. It was very, very odd. But you've read the stats out there. I think, considering out of his 4 years, we've been in the Premier League side for 3 years of that, to have a win percentage just shy of 50%. The amount of losses is shockingly good as well. Like, we haven't lost a lot of games. I think, I'm sure we'll come on to it, but just, it's just sad when it doesn't work out, and it's an odd feeling because most of the time with Wolves, certainly when we've let go of managers, you wanted them gone.
Absolutely. One of the points you pointed out to me earlier on in the season was that whenever we have let go successful managers in the past, it's set us back years. That's one of the things you said to me. I'm just hoping that the recruitment, they get it right, because it needs to be right. One of the things I tweeted, and one of my first reactions and thoughts was, what was a big summer is now a humongous summer. We knew that there was going to have to be a lot of deadwood cleared out. We knew there was going to be new signings coming in key areas of the pitch, rebuilding a spine which we've continuously pushed down the throats of everyone who's willing to listen to us. But right now, getting the recruitment of a good manager is absolutely key, because what we've got on the pitch and what we've seen from that team this season, we're on the tip of the seesaw for me, and we could end up going backwards, and it wouldn't take a lot for us to go backwards for it to go really, really wrong, and we could be stuck in a position where we really don't want to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing you said there about the players, I think that's what's going to be even more key than even the manager at this point. I think we're past the days of getting a very bad manager. I can't see a Saunders type. I mean, not obviously that bloke in particular, but I don't think we're going to go for like an unproven, English manager. I think there's going to be some sort of pedigree that comes with that job now, because at the end of the day, 2 7th place finishes, that's better than, over a small time frame, that's better than a lot of clubs in this country. So I think it's a good job, if you depending on what they're saying in the boardroom. I think it is a good job that people would want, but the players have got to be brought in, because I don't think anybody that even wanted Nuno gone, I don't think you could honestly sit there and think that many managers would have got as much out of them players as he's had out of Connor Cody, Romain Saiss. There's going to be more. Matt Doherty. Yeah, Matt Doherty. I'll be honest, and he probably has established himself as a very good player now, hopefully, when he comes back from his injury. But Raul Jimenez's career before coming to Wolves was all right. Like, he was very, very average. He was better for Mexico than he was for any of his club sides, really. He's come to Wolves and has been one of the best strikers in the league. So I think, he's got the most out of every player. I think there's not one player I'm sat there thinking might have held him back a little bit. Maybe the exception of Traore, but even so, I think, you've seen in the last couple of weeks he's let him go. So what's happened there, I'm not too sure. But
I completely agree with it. You know, the thoughts of he's improved. He's made a lot of players rather than he's not broken many players either. I don't think you'd come across too many players that would probably speak ill of the guy. He's committed his absolute life, not just to the club, but to the city. And that was shown in recent months when he made a gesture out of his own pocket. So I am sad to see the guy go. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. There is something I have to address, and that is the fact that on earlier podcasts, I called for Nuno to go. I'll explain the reasons why, as I did at the time. And the reasons were that back in January/February, the performances were poor, the results were poor. We were sliding slowly down the table. I think at one point we might have even been 15th. Yes, he did turn it around and he deserved credit for that. But at that time, we'd just come out of a cup competition where he picked a really poor side. And the season was dead. We was in a position where the bottom three was so poor, we were never going to go down, and we was never going to achieve Europe either. So a dead season to me suggested that this was the perfect opportunity, that if you did want to move Nuno on, you had a 10 to 15 game window where a new manager could have been brought in at that time, assessed what he'd got, being able to do it on a much better basis than watching videotapes or being told by staff that are going to remain at the club. So when it does come to the summer, you can ship out who you want to ship out, and you can bring in the positions that you need to bring them in. The way that the European Championships are going, the way that injuries are at the moment, he's not going to have a full squad reporting back to him until the end of July. That is 3 weeks before the start of the season. How can you mould a team and mould a squad in 3 weeks? The transition period will only extend further now into next season. And like you've said, now it is a massive gamble. So the logic for me of sacking Nuno in the summer never made sense. What I did say is if it went on this long and it got to May, that the board then need to turn around and say, we're going to back you. And I would back that strategy. And that is because it was all about a transition phase. A new manager could have already have assessed what he needed now. Bringing one in the summer is only going to extend it for me. Nuno should have stayed if it got this far. But he's been moved on. I think at the wrong time. The worrying thing for me is if Nuno sat in that boardroom over the past couple of weeks and he's not been given the assurances of money, transfers, being able to pick who he wants, and it's been his decision to walk out of the club on that basis. Because if that's the reasons, then that's worrying. It worries me more if it's Nuno's decision. If it's the club's decision to move him on, I'm less worried and less concerned.
My only thing with Nuno's decision is I think he spoke quite a lot during the lockdown situation, not obviously when the restart last year, but more the start of this season and certainly towards Christmas time, about not seeing his family, lack of family time. I think the reaction when you first see that he's leaving and all the bookies have gone down this route that he's going to Spurs. Now, a lot of journalists who seem to be right more than they're wrong are sort of saying, well, actually, there's no imminent, he's not expected anywhere it's sort of imminently. I mean, obviously, we'll see how that plays out. If that is the case and he does go back to Portugal, I think there's a potential where he's walked in and said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't, just the way that the world is, I just can't do it. Now, whether he's not been supported in that, I think that's another area of concern. I think just to touch on what you said, I completely agree with everything that you say about the timing. I think as being an optimist and behind Fosun on it, I'm going to, because at this point, that's all we can do. All I'm going to say is that we knew it was a dead season, but if you were making £100 million decisions, would you have said it's a dead season at that point in January? I think there was an element, and the recent club history suggests that if you sack a manager in sort of January, February time as a reaction, you can't always get the person in to get enough points to keep you in that division. And I think I'm hoping that there was a sensible football decision made within the club to say that we are not safe yet. So if we were to get rid of this manager now, we could end up we're taking a bigger gamble than if we get rid of him in the summer. I think the point you make about the Euros and establishing the squad is 100% accurate. I think trying to get a team together for the start of next season is going to be very difficult, and we're going to need someone to really hit the ground running. So that is going to, the transition period. I completely agree. I think if we maybe had about 5 more points, maybe when we I think was it the Brighton game, we were 3-1 up, and that was sort of the catalyst for a lot. And then we did.
It was for me, yeah. And then it was Albion only 10 days later, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think at that point, if you'd have had 5 more points, yes, you'd have been 5 more points closer to Europe, and I think we were still in the mix to a degree at that point if you'd have added 5 points. But I think it would have made a lot more sense if that's the direction you wanted to go, with changing the manager. I think they just thought, if we sack him here, we could go down this season, never mind taking the gamble on next. Doesn't mean it's right. If we go down next season, it's been the wrong call straight away, but time will tell. I'd love to see why he's gone. I think that's the $1 million question for most Wolves fans at this point. I think, if he has walked in, like I've just said about, he's missing his family, he just can't do it anymore, can't be over here. I don't think any Wolves fan is going to mind him moving on. I think he's given too much to the club, the city, the people, everything, for anyone to have any ill feeling about that. But I think if he's, like you say, he's gone and had these meetings and said, we're going to need X amount of money to spend on these players. There is a thing apparently I've read where the club want to move away from the signings that they've sort of been making, and they feel like the Portuguese influence has potentially been not just Mendes, as is obviously linked a lot, but also him. If that's true, then I don't mind it, because I do think we need that. We need to move away from that. Don't get me wrong, if a player's available and he's Portuguese, get him in. But if by quality rather than what's.
I mean, you say that though, but most of the Portuguese players that have come in, i.e. Neves, obviously Neto, Matinho, to name obviously a couple, what's the top of my head? Obviously Jota, they've all been successes, haven't they? And they've been massive successes.
I think it's more when you when you're taking up a registration spot on players like Vitinha, Vinagre, players like that, who I'm not saying are bad players. I just mean I think yeah. Is there not someone else we could have got in that maybe adds a little bit more, a different style of play?
It's forcing it a little bit.
Yeah. Fabio Silva, I've got no issue. There's clearly a potential wonder kid in there. I don't know if he'll ever reach it, but you can see why they've brought him. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting direction for the club now. I think we probably won't have a Portugal away shirt anymore.
So one of the other concerns that I think I said to you earlier as well was, what could this trigger in the dressing room? We've heard a few, reasons that certain players may go. I heard grumbles 3-4 weeks ago that Nuno potentially may have gone out the door, and that it was being, positioned that's going to happen. Rumours suggesting that Neves has got cold feet about signing a new contract as well. He's only got 2 years left on his deal. If he runs that down to next summer, we're going to get pretty much peanuts for him. So if he's reluctant to sign a new deal, especially off the back of the news of today, is he going to be out the door this summer? And if he is, God forbid, where are we going to go with our midfield next season?
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, it's just going to be such a. We've had 3 seasons, because obviously the first was Nuno's first year, but we've had 3 years now of. Last year was kind of the first year where it was a bit of a setback. The first year we got promoted, brilliant. Second year, we keep the same players, add a few more, get them all on permanence. We didn't really lose anyone. Same as the year after. And then obviously we lost Jota and Doherty. And then now you sort of, last year was the wheels, and now you sort of everything's fallen off at this point. Now, could it be better? Maybe. Who knows, in 3 months, we might be doing a pre-season thing with a new manager that's, much better reputation than Nuno. with 5-6 new signings that we're just, we can't wait to go and watch play every week, and maybe we make it. I do think it's going to go one way or the other, though. I don't think we're going to get a Treadwater. I don't think we're going to be Wolves are 11th, 12th. I think we're going to be bottom 3. I think we could be like pushing top 6. Because I just think that sort of change. Something happens. You know what I mean? It's going to be very hard to replicate what we've done again.
Yeah. I actually felt a lot more sad than I thought I would when I was calling for his head. It was very emotionally driven. But when the news came out today, I felt really sad. I thought, it really is happening. It really is coming to an end. And this guy who's been, I've used the term in previous podcasts, but an absolute bastion for the club. He's took everything, or everything that's come at him from all angles, from the media to the referees. He's had them all. He's took them all on. He's been the face of the club. He's been the face of that dressing room. He's been the face of the players. This is the legend of Nuno for me. This is what's going to be left behind. The nights, the European nights, the away trips, everywhere you followed, all over Europe, all over the UK for the best part of 3-4 years with the club. The goals from Neves. These are things that are going to be etched in Wolves' legend for years to come. They're going to be on mosaics outside the stadiums. They're going to be on programs in years to come. They're going to be on DVD covers, poster covers, calendar covers. And for all this to be coming to an end, it is quite upsetting. It is quite emotional. I wish that there was a full ground there for him on Sunday, because he really deserves that. He deserves everything. He's been there for 4 years, and there's absolute legends of the club. Obviously Billy Wright, Steve Bull, legends of the club, and in terms of like managers down the years. But to call for Nuno to get a statue, it seems absurd. But for what he's done for the club, he's took us to places that we never dreamt of. And the phrase "Nuno had a dream," he lived it, and we all rode the roller coaster with him, and it was fantastic. And whoever comes in there has got massive shoes to fill.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And you've hit the nail on the head. Nuno, and what he brought and everything like that. He gave me, people who don't necessarily as in love with football as say I am, don't understand. But he gave me some of the best nights I've ever had in my life. Not just the European. Some of the games, Cardiff game. When he's run away from when he's chasing Warnock around the pitch, like just unbelievable. Bristol City, what a game that was.
Just to put in there, one of the things that we did come up with this afternoon, so whilst we're on this subject actually, and that was, we drew up a short list of our favourite 5 games under Nuno. So whilst you are on this, I know 2 of those games feature there, so I'll let you run through your 5 favourite games under Nuno and the iconic moments that went with them.
Yeah, my favourite is my favourite. I think my favourite Wolves game I think I've ever been to is Torino. It was my first European away, just brilliant. Obviously, we wouldn't have had that without someone like Nuno in charge. Bristol City, I think, is close, but I wouldn't put it in there. Cardiff was just a magical night. Like, it really was. Like, I wasn't going until 3 days before, and then sort of what a night. The Man United Cup game in the quarterfinal. I've never heard Molineux that loud. I've been going to Molineux since '97. I've never heard anything that loud at our ground. It was outrageous. One of the games I know I said to you before that I'd throw in is it's an odd one because it probably wouldn't be on anybody else's, but was Man United away in the first year in the Premier League when we drew 1-1. I've been to big grounds before and watched Wolves do all right, even win some games. We've beaten countless teams at home over the years when we've been a poor Premier League side, but that was the first time for me I can remember going to a game against a top side and feeling like we're not here on an FA Cup jolly up here. Like, we're a legitimate good side, and I've never walked out of Old Trafford gutted that we didn't win. So it kind of felt like we'd arrived, like, rather than like, it was like, that was our moment for me where I was like, Wolves are actually, You list
a
the
real
top 10
deal.
teams in the country at the minute. We're in there. It was a mad sort of thing. And then I think there's a lot of ones that I could throw as me fifth. I think there's games I didn't go to. Middlesbrough, when we've I didn't go to that. I didn't experience it. But 9 men, for what, half hour was it? Not was it longer than that? Was it a whole half?
It was 10 men for quite a long time, and then
It
it
was
went
10 men for
9, didn't
ages,
it?
wasn't it? And then like
Yeah.
9 for maybe like 20 minutes at the end. But
And
like
just hanging on, and Bamford scoring at the end, and size collapsing at the end. These are just iconic moments. And even though it's been 4 years, it's felt like a lifetime because of everything that we've had, sort of, compiled into that time period. Bristol City away, again, being down to 10 men, 1-0 down, and we've somehow come out of there and won the game 2-1. Ryan Bennett at the back post. What was it? Was it New Year's Eve? Was it? So it was under the lights. It was, and I think you mentioned it.
New Year's, yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That Cardiff, that Friday night under the lights at Cardiff.
Everything was against us that night. Everything was against us.
They'd come to the Molineux and done an absolute job on us earlier on in the season. There was, it's never been a friendly affair between us and Cardiff anyway, going back to the mid-2000s. And obviously the Neil Warnock factor always spices things up as well. And obviously Neves scores an absolute worldie of a free kick right in front of the fans. And then what can we say? Mike Dean must have had Cardiff in his accumulators, because yet again, the Wolves vendetta comes out inside him, gives them 2 penalties in stoppage time. Both penalties, by the way. Sorry, Mike. But yeah, 2 penalties in stoppage time, and they miss them both. And yeah, what can I say? I remember being in my living room. Wish I was there, but yeah, I remember being in my living room, jumping all around, screaming. The missus is next to me, thinking, "What the fucking hell's going on?" Doesn't understand. Not got a clue. Man United in the FA Cup quarterfinal, again, another night under the lights. Special when Jota runs through and smashes that ball, and yeah, the safe man. But the one game that you haven't mentioned there, and I think I mentioned to you earlier, was Manchester City at home. Again, another night under the lights. There's something special in there about games under the lights. But 2-0 down at home to the reigning champions, and then coming back and winning 3-2. It was just poetry.
I'll throw another one in there. I've thought of in the last couple of minutes. It's Leicester at home when we beat them 4-3. And
the early game on the Saturday.
And
it could have been 9-9. It could have been 9-9.
Him running onto the pitch at the end when Jota got the hat-trick. It was just brilliant. And do you know what? I don't care how much he had to do with signings. We'll never know that. We'll never ever know, unless he does a book and it's accurate. We'll never know. We'll never know how much he. But the squad he built, for years felt so disconnected with the club. The Saunders years, even the back end of the McCarthy years, you just never. It was not a club you sort of wanted to be around, and he wasn't the only one. Jackett did it as well. I always credit Kenny Jackett for that. I think he brought that back, but I think he made. If Jackett restored the life in it, I think Nuno put the pride back into it. I think you were proud to be a Wolves fan, under Nuno. And I think, being someone who's not from the area, I used to go every game on the train. I used to walk through London. I've got a Wolves shirt on. I used to do that when we had Paul Lambert in charge. I used to zip my jacket up. But, there was, when we used to go, to home games under Nuno, it was just, you'd wear, it could be -10 outside, and you take your jacket off because you're just I'm a Wolves fan. I want someone to ask me about it. I want to talk to someone about Wolves. It was just good. And he's done that. And I think anybody who wanted him out, I get it. It's not been good this year. It's really not. And the style of football's been poor. It is negative X, Y, and Z. But he's given you something that just we've not had before in our lifetime. People older than us maybe have experienced stuff with Wolves like we haven't, from when either of us started going to Wolves, and when we used to go to the games together in the 2000s and that, if we'd have ever thought that 15 years time we'd be playing in Europe, it wouldn't have even
the thing is, we at that time we used to be absolutely buzzing to draw a Premier League team in the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get the taste of it.
Yeah. And just for me, I'm just so thankful for Nuno. I think he's done a fantastic job. It might turn out to be the best thing, him moving on for both him and us. You know, he could go to Tottenham. He could be the first Tottenham manager to win a trophy. You know, and if he does, I've never been one for people who like support players and managers when they move on. Like Doherty, like not interested in him now. Like now he's gone. And Jota, I'm a little bit. I don't, you know, I have a bit of a thing with Jota, but like with Nuno, like genuinely, if he goes to Spurs, I want us to win every competition we enter. But if we get knocked out of that FA Cup, I want Spurs to go. Like I want him to win it. Like for me, he's just a top bloke who's just given me some of the best nights. So yeah, I just couldn't be more thankful for the bloke, really.
So just to run you through at the moment, Nuno, he's currently at shortest price 1 to 3 favourite to be the Spurs manager at the moment. I think that's probably just reflective of the early money of the current market. He's a free agent and he's the most likely candidate at this stage, but I personally don't see him going there. I don't think it'll come off. The Wolves market at the moment, pretty clear. We've got Bruno, is it Lage or Lage?
I think it's
Bruno Lage. As short as 1 to 2, 4 to 9. Sorry, with Sky Bet. Sorry, 4 to 11 with Betfair.
I think that's similar to what you said about Nuno, though. I think he's the free agent. He's the obvious choice. I think if you go back through Fosun's appointments, Zenga, you couldn't even get money on him. You know, when we got him in. Lambert, you probably could. I don't really remember, but you probably could.
Solbakken was another one as well. He sort of all of a sudden a week before.
But like Nuno, it just turned up, didn't he? You know what I mean? All of a sudden he turned up. It was just a tweet out, yeah, Wolves of Nuno, espirito santo. I was like, who the hell's this? Like, so same, yeah. Don't be surprised to see somebody just completely off the radar. You can't even get money on. Going off the odds at the minute. I don't particularly. I'm no expert on Portuguese football one bit, so I'm not going to claim to know about this guy. I've done some little bit of digging on stats. That Lager's not great from stats. Won the league with João Felix, I believe, and then once they lost him, went on the worst run in Benfica's history, while still having a player like Ruben Dias at the back. So he wouldn't be the person I'd want based on just rough numbers that I've looked at. I think the Porto guy is very interesting. He's been at Porto for 4 years and got a 70% win rate, which I think is at any club's good.
Well, they put up a decent showing against Chelsea in the Champions League as well this year. There were no mugs, you know.
And this might be wrong, but I think before he went, I'm pretty sure they played a Champions League game or maybe even Europa League game and lost and got booed at Porto Airport about 3 a.m. I remember seeing. So they weren't in a good spot, I think, when he first took over. Someone like that would, I think if we're getting managers that are currently the manager of Porto, I think we're doing something right. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of whether he's good or not, I think, there's no way we could have thought we could attract someone like that a couple of years ago.
He's it's 14 to 1 currently in the market. You've also got obviously Fonseca at Roma, who's obviously going to be out of a job in a week's time. He's currently in there at 10 to 1. What I will say is that, in terms of names, Benitez was thrown around a little bit. Personally, can't see that. I don't actually think it'll be anyone who's managed in this league before. The criteria, I don't think. What I will sort of, I won't put a name to it. What I do want is I want someone young with ambition and with a point to prove. I don't want an old face, someone who's been around the block a fair bit. I'm not to sort of, he's been a Premier League winner, but I don't want like a Manuel Pellegrini. I don't want an older, safe pair of hands. I want someone young and ambitious to make the gamble worthwhile.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think looking at the odds, I don't want Benitez. I've never really been a fan. I mean, he's always done an okay job everywhere he's been, but he's just never been for me. One name I remember seeing ages ago, this was a good couple of months ago, and I don't even know if you can bet on him now, but it's Gattuso. And I remember seeing that they were lining him up. Now, at the time, it was probably just paper talk, but now he's gone. Like, I wouldn't really want someone like that. I think he's too hot-headed. I would be if you said to me now, they'll definitely come. You can offer whoever you want as a job. It's got to be on that list, for example. I wouldn't be opposed to Gerrard. I think he's earned his stripes in. He's earned his stripes in Scotland. I think yes, you go up there and you expect to win a league. The guy's just gone and beaten for a season. That's not winning the league. That's absolutely destroying it. The only downside with him is it doesn't matter. Wolves could come second. Wolves could win the league. If Liverpool job comes available, he's gone. So
yeah, he was there to Klopp's throne, isn't he? And there's no doubt about it.
I don't want Lampard. That's for me a no. I don't think he did a good job at Derby. I think he did a poor job at Derby. Like if you look at Mason Mount was in his team, and what he's gone on to be in less than a year after being there, I think he did par at best. He did okay in his first year at Chelsea, but not for me.
Yeah, I think he was massive, bang unlucky, weren't he, in that playoff final against Villa? He was bang unlucky in that game.
Villa, they just come up against. Should have won automatic,
possibly. But they saw off a very good Leeds side in those playoffs. He obviously got them to the final. And they just come up against a Villa team that were just ripping through everyone at the time. They'd gone on 10-game winning run to get into the playoffs. They just beat they beat Albion, who come third in the league to get to the final.
Well, I think Lampard's going to get
the momentum they took into that final. It was a one-off game. Harsh to say that perhaps he should have took them up. I think he did as best as he probably could. The first year at Chelsea, I think he did a fantastic job. Third in the league, FA Cup final. Yeah, granted, they should have beat that Arsenal team. But again, that Arsenal team took momentum into the final off beating City. But he still did a decent job. This season, he fell much below the standards given the money he was given.
I think that's my worry.
I don't think he's a bad manager. I don't think he's a bad manager, but maybe this isn't the role for him at the moment. I think he'll prove his worth, and I actually think he'll probably get the Palace job. That's where I can see him going.
Yeah, I agree. And my issue with him is that you got to come in here now and you got to be willing to spend X amount of money. And I think he went to Chelsea last year. He's at Chelsea last year, and he hasn't spent it well. Whether the players are good, but it's more just. I'm not saying the players are bad who he's brought in. I'm more saying when he was given a set. He's almost like he'd be good at international management, where you're given a set of players and said, get the best out of these players. They might not be the best, because that's what he did the year before, because he couldn't sign anyone. The minute he had to blend Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, and he just didn't really seem to be able to do it. He didn't know who to pick. It was chop change up front every week. And I think, it's not for me. Whereas I think Gerrard has gone to Rangers and has built a team. I think he's gone there, and relative to the league, I can't tell you how much he spent, but I imagine for what that league sort of average spend is, I imagine he's way above it. But he's built a decent side, a side that's actually not done too badly in Europe, to be honest. So I think I'd like him to be given a chance. My only worry is that, like you say, he could have a great year at Wolves, take us really high in the league. Liverpool job comes available, and next news you're looking for a manager again. So that'll be my worry. But
time will tell. Yeah. So I think at the moment there is no obvious candidate. And it's going to be an interesting next 4 to 5 weeks, I think, whilst the recruitment process takes place. I'm hoping for a nice, fast, quick recruitment. Ideally, I'd like an announcement within 2 weeks, following Nuno's departure. I'd like us to get a manager in place prior to the Euro starting, so that he can at least meet. I don't think he's going to be able to meet the players before the Euros, but at least these players can go into a European Championship knowing who's going to be the boss when they return. But yeah, instant reaction was pure shock. And next season, I am incredibly nervous about it. I am incredibly nervous at this moment in time.
I am as well. I honestly, I don't think we'll go down, even with this. I think this team's taking too big of a risk around us. I think Palace are taking a bigger risk than we have. But
word's coming out of Burnley as well. There's news is coming out of Burnley as well, isn't there? About Dyche.
The one thing I will say, I think I said it to you earlier. We look at it as a negative of it's a gamble. It's like, you always, whenever you say a gamble like this, you always look at the bad side, not the good. On the flip side, there's a reason Burnley are Burnley, because they've held on to Sean Dyche too long. Now they're locked in. They can't get rid of him because they're near the bottom with him. So, but Bournemouth, they climbed the league with Eddie Howe. They should have got rid of him. Everyone knows they should have got rid of him. Really, like he got stale, and they just slowly went down. Maybe Wolves have taken a proactive view on it and said we're not going to become that team. We're going to have risk. We're going to risk it and try and join the elite. And look what different team, different situation. But Man City, everyone was shocked in sort of 2010 or whatever it was when they got rid of Marc Hughes, who'd just done a pretty good job for him.
Absolutely. I think we were actually at a game at the time, weren't we? Did they draw to Sunderland, I think, at home or something? We was actually at a game walking out the turnstiles at the end and said, City have sacked Marc Hughes. And we were like, what?
And then all of a sudden, Mancini comes in to win the league, and sometimes you only ever remember the shocking stories when people get sacked like this. But I think not he's been sacked, but when they leave, but it could go really well. It could, we could have a complete change of culture in the club, which I don't even say was needed, but just a different direction, new players, new ideas. It could all be brilliant. But yeah, it could also be bad. But it's part of it, and we'll just have to see where it lands. But I think at the moment, like I said, I think you just got to take a few days here just to get to the realization that we're 2 days away now from watching the last ever game of Wolves with Nuno as manager, which is just incredibly sad. And I know I said it earlier, but just couldn't be more thankful for him and grateful for the things he's done for the club. And I'm not from Wolves, have got no family ties to Wolverhampton at all, but for what he's done for a city that famously is needs a lot of help a lot of the time, for what he's done for that place is unreal, absolutely unbelievable. And just what a top man.
Absolutely, yeah. Probably just goes on trend as well, really, with the ruthlessness that probably runs through the club at the moment. That's all been reflected in players over the years. Players that have played a massive part of the rebuild of the club. I point to Barry Douglas, even Cavallero, Ryan Bennett, Helder Costa.
And how many of them have been made a mistake of? How many of them do you go, I wish we still had them?
The ruthlessness, if you're not good enough, you're not going to cut it, you're out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a few examples. There's probably so many more. But yeah, that's probably that may be, one of the reasons of this approach to Nuno. And perhaps we thought that it was Nuno pulling the strings on these decisions of the ruthlessness, but maybe he's actually Fossen all along. And Jeff Shee, he might be a ruthless individual. But yeah, as we say, it's going to be an interesting few weeks. And yep, I hope that we've done Nuno a proper justice here tonight, giving him a proper send-off, thanking him. He's done a fantastic job for the club. Wherever he goes next, I'm absolutely certain he's going to succeed. Personally, don't see that at Tottenham. It probably will be a job within Europe, probably in Spain, Portugal. But yeah, perhaps he's going to go back home now, spend some time with his family, take a bit of a sabbatical, recharge his batteries, go again. That's what Jurgen Klopp's talking about, isn't he? When he leaves Liverpool, he might well be done. He might even go into his international management on a more casual basis, but who knows? He's definitely someone I'm going to keep his, wherever he goes next, I will be keeping a keen eye on his progress and that team's progress as well. So hopefully it won't be in the Premier League anyway, because I think it'd hurt me to see him on the sidelines week in, week out, and bonding with another set of fans as well. It almost feels like you're having a breakup with a girlfriend, doesn't it? You kind of don't want to walk past them in the street with another boy or something. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that, isn't it?
like watching your ex-missus out here.
That's it, yeah. But yeah, anyway, thanks a lot for coming on again.
Cheers.
As always. And anyone who obviously watches, please like and subscribe, leave your comments below, give us a follow on Twitter. And thanks for watching.